The idea of City Park was the brainchild of Lieutenant Walker in order to introduce green parks within an open context. The first public park in Malaysia was constructed during the British colonization through revamping a disused tin mine into what is now known as the Taiping Lake Garden. This trend spread to Kuala Lumpur, with its president of Kuala Lumpur Lake Garden followed by Permaisuri and Titiwangsa. However, this direct translation and replication of parks across the land aroused a more fundamental question. What is the desired purpose of a city park within urban KL? Is it merely a token gesture of the symbolism of a modern city? Or does it have a deeper purpose of serving the local community with a sense of belonging and tenancy? Tabula rasa, a philosophical idea introduced by Sir John Locke, proposes the mind in its hypothetical primary blank or empty state before receiving outside impressions. To put it simply, a blank slate. Perhaps in a much localized way of describing tak ada rasa, lacking in the concept of taste or emotional rapture. In 1980, from an unused tin mine, Lake Titiwangsa in its tabula rasa stage was crowned as the green space of urban Kuala Lumpur by Tun Hussein. Today, however, it has contrastingly fallen from a foreseen vibrant park to a tak ada rasa despair due to its mishmash collage appearance, a consequence of making important decisions without public participation. The deformed grid pattern shows that fine grains are concentrated around the northwest district, which are mostly residential. Due to the smaller building footprints, more intimate negative spaces are formed, promoting permeability and walkability. Coarse grains are fringed around the southern part of the lake, where larger institutional buildings are situated. The large building footprints have a much higher hierarchy due to its low permeability. They serve urban purposes but not necessarily to the public, as they cater to only certain targeted group of users. Unfortunately, the lake becomes a coarse grain due to the lack of a gradient buffer zone to soften the contrast between the two. The water body diverts human flow away due to its low porosity and monotonous programs. This shows that unsynchronized planning between the park and the surrounding fabric only leads to a messy collage that disconnects from its intended user. Mainly surrounded by commercial or institutional buildings, art and academy-oriented establishments such as the Istana Budaya, Balai Seni Lukis, National Library, Wisma Bernama, all embodies a strong locally symbolized identity. Some civic institutional buildings such as UTC, Institute Jantung Malaysia, TM and Stadium Titiwangsa serves its prominent function of serving the community. However, the strong identity of each building has strengthened and encouraged individualism on the site, instead of showing any interest in unity. The highway serves as a distinct physical buffer between the busy road and the quiet residential area. Conversely, the lake itself is a disjunction, a natural border in a sense caused by its unhumanized scale, which cuts off the physical connection between the banks and diverts people away from it. Accessibility edge is posed by the police training ground, inaccessible by the public. Property fencing edges are framed at the vicinity of UKM and the National Library. Both buildings can see each other's presence but never truly connecting or interacting with the surrounding, as the fences shut off entries and demarcated an edge as acting against one another. Covered from public view, the unattended backside of the institution form dormant spaces which are drained and vacant. The borders forms a loop within a loop, a jumbled connectivity. Points can be found around, either physically or from points of interest such as the Satay Station, playgrounds, plaza, Jalan Fletcher bus stop, Istana Budaya. However, they exist as minor point forms instead of linear and vertical. Without much variation, the influential effect of these points are diminished as well. Seemingly of poor planning, industrial zones are flanked by residential buildings. Despite having educational and institutional structures sprawling across the lake, the location itself is hardly visited by the public and intellectuals. With some minority of religious, commercial, and healthcare buildings sandwiched in between, Titiwangsa Park is left to serve a recreational purpose within the ring. Various areas shows no connectivity. Scattered landmarks with distinct identity promotes individualism. Mishmash district planning raises connectivity issues, and most nodes are temporal, contributing to state of Tabula rasa. Scattered trees are either not tall enough to give a sense of shelter to humans, or not dense enough to create shades. Sparsely apart, it allows heat and sunlight to pass through. Little to no shading is provided along the pathways where most activities take place. The lake is mundanely flat, lacking human interaction to bring life, texture, and interest to the plane. The architecture around the area are nationalist in appearance, resulting in big unfriendly complexes only appealing to certain groups and not the new generation. Once the skill of intimacy within a space is lost, the sense of belonging can hardly be retained. Primary vehicular lanes frames both the south and west border of the park. Secondary paths branches out to reach the east and north. Although the circulation is a complete loop, it is unable to attain users due to its lack of diversity to attract people, even though car parks are located around the loop. The 4 limited entrances reduces the porosity of the park for spontaneous activities. Travelers, especially foreigners who take the public transportation such as the LRT, have to walk 20 minutes from the nearest station. Even though bus stops are nearer to the site, considering the downside of irregular and late timing, the public transport access is still not optimal. Various activities take place around the park, but only a few within the park, such as jogging, cycling, and occasionally fishing. The patchwork dissipates the human flow, confining the scope of activities to merely recreational purposes, causing the site to be active only in the early mornings and evenings with joggers and cyclists. The park is only exposed to light breeze, much affected by the flat, low-lying terrain, thus the park is hot and humid. Due to the bare land with minimal shading, the microclimate is hot and scorching, especially during midday. According to a pathogenic test, the water from Lake Titiwangsa is contaminated with waterborne parasites from the urine of animals. All water activities are halted, and the advantage of having a large water body is wasted. Should we not get rid of the parasites and make this site a vibrant community water sports recreational destination as it was before? Although known as a green space, the tree species are monotonously bare, limited to only a few varieties of tropical palms and hardwoods, showing a sense of dull uniformity. This mixture contradicts to its vision of a vibrant green space, feeling from the very root of nurturing and harnessing nature itself. If so, how can the beauty of nature be expressed or even enjoyed? Site 1 proposes for a visitor interpretative center, holding a richer vegetation that provides shading. The trees filter ample sunlight as a natural breeze alley, simply delightful. It overlooks the pond, providing a soothing scenery with reflections of the surrounding when the fountains are on. Situated at the corner of the park, framed by 2 intersecting roads from the west and south are jogger tracks at the east, is to address an optimal circulation. Recreational facilities and furniture are well provided, encouraging people to chat, jog, cycle, and dine here. To the north, views are disrupted by the odd location of restrooms, which only 1 out of 3 is functional. Thus, a visitor interpretative center which allows users, locals, and foreigners alike to enjoy the beauty of nature is appropriate for this location, although it may not be in its fullest beauty now, but through architecture it can be heightened. Site 4 intends for a games and recreational center. Flanked by the buildings on the east, south, and west, it doesn't receive any cross ventilation, thus the site is hot and stuffy. The north offers scenic vista towards the lake, however the lower levels is obstructed by the quay. Welcomed by a one-way road, drivers have no stop point in between, thus is unable to attain much people. It mainly hosts badminton and tennis, but very few varieties to fulfill the needs of youth nowadays. Thus, a game and recreational center can be introduced to fulfill the needs of current youth's interests by injecting new breadth of activities to keep the site pulsating. The current state of Tabula Rasa is filled with unrealized potentials. It is free of any tangible programs due to existing programs being poorly executed. This major issue of monotone activities shall be diversified with more programs that can communicate with the community. Thus, a sense of belonging can be rooted and the place can be revitalized sustainably, allowing it to flourish through people attracting people. Built in the 1980s with a total coverage of 95 hectares and a 57 hectares lake, Titiwangsa Park is one of the largest parks in size in Malaysia. With a strategic location within the heart of KL and offering activities such as jogging, cycling, horse riding, golfing and badminton, as well as playgrounds and radio-controlled car racing. However, most of the facilities are in a dismayed state, with no local accent and no linkage with the cultural activities. While the KLCC Park, built in 1988, is relatively smaller, it is much livelier than our site. It holds a clear objective in cultivating a heritage of tropical greenery, preserve transplanted indigenous planting from the former Selangor Turf Club. Fringed by iconic destinations such as Surah KLCC, Masjid Al Sinkin, and the KLCC Aquarium, it successfully attracts visitors from these sites to stop by. It is a good intervention in the midst of the hustling and bustling commercial heart of KL, with a touch of greenery that attracts locals and tourists. Daily, there will be light and music shows at noon and evening to keep the place pulsating. Although the scale is small, it successfully brings the local identity of Malaysia by preserving its indigenous plants and biodiversity. In Dubai, Safa Park is a large oasis, holding various events such as bazaars and carnivals. It receives vehicular and human traffic from all sides, including the 55th Street, Al Was Road, Zayed Road and Al Hadiga Street, to offer a complete escape from the hustle of metropolitan Dubai. Although it is located 10.57 kilometers southwest from the center of Dubai, visitors, locals and foreigners alike will still come over by the means of metro. Located at a strategic point, it is in sync with the master plan of the Dubai Canal. Between 1975 to 2013, the park is cut off from the water body, and through 2014 to 2016, the canal was extended to reach the ocean. This shows that a well-established park shall engage well with the urban planning for holistic development. Rich in diversity, well master planning and various programs are the key of its success. Enabling Village in Singapore by Woha place people at the center of the design, which we think is valuable. It integrates 4 main points, which includes environmental values, interweaving spaces, intimate skills, and reminiscence. Water bodies help to regulate the microclimate of the site to create a serene environment. It integrates inside and out to bring nature closer to human. Using wooden louvers, it blurs the boundary between. It shows an architecture that reacts actively to the surroundings to bring a sense of belonging to the particular site. Interweaving spaces are achieved by using various linkages and compose a seamless connection, which is an important element much needed in our disconnected site. These variations give different experience for the users while giving a clear sense of orientation and navigation. Intimate skills are achieved by humanizing the skill between building and human, which is essential to our site, lacking a balanced proportion between man and landscape. The Arc by Rimayu Architects puts the community at first in the design stage. Through participatory design, it promotes integration between residents to revitalize the park. It includes various types of functions to serve and attract diverse user groups. Permeability is achieved by lifting up and spacing out the ground floor entirely for open activities, thus allowing a free plan for users to interact and carry on spontaneous activities. It offers various activities to the space, not restricting its function only to a sports center, but also including sedentary activities to be carried out to cater to different users in order to sustain its activeness. According to the Uniform Building Bylaws, as a detached building on the open field of Site 1, the proposed architecture must have at least 2 meters of clearance from lot boundary. For Site 4, a minimum 4 meters clearance from surrounding buildings should be addressed. Due to the proximity to water body, subsoil of Site 1 should be effectively drained. In excavation, if drains are discovered, it should be diverted or replaced. To prevent dampness, dam-proof membrane should comply to BS 743 standards. If the wall is in contact with the ground, it should be protected with dam-proof membrane at the base. Floorings or any elements subjected to water pressure should be waterproof. In the present state of tabula rasa, the architectural intervention should act as a catalyst to reignite the distinct taste of the place, addressing the need of the community who calls this place home.